Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. This time it's basically just an update and a Q&A with respect to vanilla planifolia, the vanilla orchid. I received two questions. The first comes from someone called, excuse me, Points of Light Ink. And their question was, and they used caps lock in the question just to emphasize how frustrating it is for them, and I completely get you. How do you know which end of a cutting is up and which end is down? Now, I don't know if you mean specifically with respect to a vanilla orchid or just any. Obviously it must be vanilla orchid, but I get that can be frustrating because sometimes it is very difficult to tell, but I have already filmed it and I hope that it does justice and it helps to really clear that up for you. And then the second question, which I will show you in a second, the second question, basically it comes from, please forgive me if I butcher your name, it's Mexican 7 Hunda, or Hunda, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but your question goes as follows. It's a two-part question. The first part goes, how long will it take for a vanilla orchid to reach 10 feet? And also the second part is, how have you ever grown a vanilla orchid indoors, like tips for growing it indoors? Now, first part of your question, look, the cutting you'll see after I've just answered both of your questions, we'll go to the actual plant. It would take a very good long time if you're outside of the tropics, and I'm talking like perhaps 2.5 to 3 to even 3.5 years, depending on your conditions. So it's not there is no hard and fast rule, and it isn't, you can't just say, yeah, it's going to take that long. If my cutting had continued to grow from its tip, from the cutting that we took, it would probably have reached 1 meter within one growing season. It didn't do that. It completely developed 2 new side shoots, one which died and one then which continued on. So yeah, and if you are in the tropics, of course, it's going to be like magic. It's really going to be so quick and you're not going to have to wait that long at all. So yeah, that is a bit of a grey answer. I'm sorry I can't really answer you on that because it really just depends on where you live and how you treat the plant. With respect to keeping it indoors, again, I've never ever kept a vanilla cutting indoors, but I think it'd be pretty simple. Because I'm in the southern hemisphere, north faces the equator, so I would keep it in a room that is really warm, so on the northern side of the house, facing direct sunlight but not in direct sunlight. Sorry, the bugs are just crazy today. It's really humid and warm. I would keep it out of direct sunlight and mist it regularly and be very careful to not overwater it, because that would just not be good. It needs to be free draining growing medium. And yeah, and that is my answers. So now let's just go to Points of Light Ink and actually show you how to definitively know which end is up and which end is down. Okay, and then yeah, then we'll go and have a look at the orchid itself. Cool. So just to show you with a plant that isn't a vanilla orchid, here you can see the leaf scar, right? So that's where the scar is, and that's the word that I completely forgot to mention in, with the vanilla orchid. That's the leaf scar, right? And if you come around this end here, you can actually see that's where the node line runs, right? So that's dividing the 2 internodes, and that's where the node sits on that line there. So right above that, you'll see a little growth point, and that is the sign of a new leaf or branch developing there, and that is essentially the side that is up. So you would plant this end down here, you would put into the ground, and that end would be pointing up toward the sky. Okay. Here again is another example. So this is a sugarcane cutting or sugarcane plant, and there's the line, right? So this is the old leaf scar and also the node. So there's the internode, there's an internode, this section in the middle is the node, and then there's a little growth point. That's a little node, a little shoot developing there, and you can see that the shoot is above the line and also pointing upward. So that tells you that it wants to go that way. So you're going to plant it with that point sort of pointing up, and then this part in the ground. I hope that makes sense. Right, so here is an old stalk, right? This is a very old piece, and you can see that on this piece here, I've kind of neglected it, to be honest. So guys, I'm not even gonna, it's not just that it's old, it's also that I haven't really been looking after it properly. You can see that its leaves are dying off, right? So if I take the leaf and I pull the leaf off, sorry, like so, sorry, that's quite tough to get off. If I pull the leaf off and I take another one off, let's take that one off too. Okay, take it off completely and pretend that it didn't have leaves to begin with. Okay, another one. Now let me turn this so we can get a closer look at it. Okay, so basically you'll notice that it has a node right there. Sometimes it will not have that node, but if you look a little higher up, that one there too has a node. The node is pointing up, and to me that is how I tell which end is up. So even if it doesn't have roots, that is the end that points up, because look, the leaf comes off of this little node here. The leaf is usually on the lower end of the node and it grows upward. So let's take a look at one that actually still has a leaf and compare it. So there's a leaf scar, and you can see that that was the point that went where the leaf was attached, and actually it grew upward, so the leaf would have come off instead of that direction, kind of like that there. So there's a leaf that is still intact. Okay, so if that was not there, you would then rely on the node to tell you, to show you which side, which end is up and which end is down. So naturally this end here, if I point down, that part goes into the ground. Whereas this part here is the growing end, it's the meristematic region, so it will grow in this direction. Okay, because that little node right there will actually turn into a plant like this. So here you can see this piece of the vanilla orchid is actually, that leaf is dying right in there. So this is probably going to do it again, it's going to split again. But there you can see, out of that node, the leaf is still present here. And out of that node, the upward growth has produced this little shoot. Okay, and if we go a little higher up, here you can see it again. So there's the little node. So that little node will turn into a new shoot. There's the leaf. So if I remove that leaf, that's what you're going to be looking for, is that little node. Now, in the event that that node is not there, you will still see the point, the growth point, the node. You will still see that there's a bit of a telltale sign, and the telltale sign will always be on the upper side of this line. There'll always be a line there, and that line is basically the node. So on the upper side there'll be a little, I don't know how to describe it, like a little marking, like a doorway, like a sealed door. And basically that little sealed door is where the new growth will come from. So you always make sure that that's pointing up. So if I were to turn it upside down, it would be very clear. So here's a part that is now upside down, right? You can see that the leaf there, let me take that leaf off. See, is that good enough? Yeah, It's just, sorry, let me just prepare that. There you can still see there's a node there. Maybe my camera is not picking it up so nicely, but there's a node, and the node is basically on this end, on my finger's end of these two pieces. So because it's on this end is the upper end of the vanilla cutting. That end is the lower end. So you will not plant it like this, but instead you will plant it like that. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I really hope that helps you. On the other hand, if you're getting something like this where the tip is just dead and there's just dead vegetation on the tip of this cutting, then right in there you can actually see there's the growth point. So that is the upper end. You will not put the upper end into the ground. That is a new shoot developing right there. Okay, so that's pretty much how I differentiate and distinguish which end is up and which end is down with respect to vanilla cuttings. So if you remember, we initially had 5 leaves. I actually counted them. So we had that leaf, which is 2. Then we had 3 right there, 4 up here, and 5. Okay, so that was the original cutting. It has since produced that little stalk, which then died off because obviously it was winter. And here, the winter, at the very heart of winter, it just gets so incredibly cold for this orchid that it literally just has tip die off. That's all that happens. It doesn't really suffer much more than that, both outside and inside a greenhouse. It still does the same thing. So whether that is temperature related, I am not 100% sure, but it is I'm gonna take an educated guess on that. So if you do know why that happens, then please let me know. But otherwise, that is what I'm going to tell you it is. Okay, but anyways, aside from that, since then, it has actually produced this entire new plant, which is all the way up to the top here. So this is at least, I'd say, about 50 centimeters tall, which is, yeah, that's pretty good. So just wanted to show you what it looks like. And remember, I showed you how to do the pot and the sticks and all that stuff in there with the cable ties, and you can actually see all of the roots running along around the aerial roots running along the piece of wood. So the orchid is doing really, really well, and the weather here today is just amazing. So I thought, hey, it's vanilla weather, or I call it coconut weather, and yeah, I'm just pretty chuffed with this. So that is the vanilla plant update. Hope you have a good one. Enjoy the day. Keep gardening and just love your plants and stuff, you know. Yeah, cool. Bye for now.